Well, hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Unlocked. You're in for a super duper treat today because I always go the wrong way, the amazing Cassie Brown with me on today's show. So I know she's super excited to be here with you guys. And gosh, the last couple of hours, Cassie and I have been in a meeting talking all things sales copy. So guess what the topic for you guys today is all about sales copy. We're going to kind of take you guys through a method. I want everybody who's here that has ever needed to write some sort of copy for a sales page, this is mainly sales page stuff that we're going to be talking about today, but copy for any purpose from an online perspective. There is a method and a process that you just need to use to help you kind of make sense of a lot of the mess that sometimes we find ourselves in our own heads. And often, if you're anything like me, and I know Cassie probably has been in this situation too, just the mere thought of having to write copy in the past has been like, oh, I really don't want to have to go there. I would much rather vomit or do something really awful than have to sit down and really think about writing copy, because I never ever thought I could do it. But what I can assure you is that once you learn a process, once you can put a process around it and you create a system, then like everything, it becomes a lot simpler. So that is our intention for today, as we are going to be unlocking the method, the process that we use in our businesses, not only to help ourselves create copy, but it's also the same process that we use to help all of our students and all of my clients in my agency. I help them to write copy in this manner. And we've broken it down to a really 4-step simple process. So I'm going to introduce I'm going to let Cassie speak for a moment and kind of give her a bit of her experience of copy in the past and maybe some of the things that she's felt about it. And now that she utilizes this process too, how does she now feel about creating copy?
Oh man. Well, hello everyone. I'm Cassie Brown. I'm super excited to be here and just sharing about this. I feel like in the last 4 years that I've been within the online marketing space and every major evolution of my growth, copywriting is one of those skills that you continue to hone and polish, but it's completely a secret weapon and a must-have. Like, even if you don't always do it yourself, to understand it at a human level and the purpose of connecting and drawing in that conversation, that one-to-one internal conversation that's going on the other side, because that's the point of it. There is another human on the other side of that digital screen reading and interacting with that. And once you understand that and who you're talking to and what their pain points are and what you're creating to solve that big problem in their life, it changes everything. And even if you're not good at it right now, you don't have to be great at it to understand on a human level what someone's looking for and what they need. And I love the method that you put it together in the play on words, which everyone will understand in a few minutes. I'm just going to open loop that. But it is a process. It is a process, and it always will be a process. Love it or hate it, it is something that you absolutely have to get into the state of mind and realize there is a refinement process, but it's going to start messy.
Absolutely. And guys, look, a bit remiss of me. Normally I do like a big introduction of like, who is the person that I've got on the show today? And it's just one of those things, like Cassie is kind of in my life. She's around me all the time. I just figured everyone knows who Cassie Brown is. So let me do a little bit of an introduction for you, because she absolutely deserves one.
You're going to make me blush.
So Cass is one of those. I mean, her and I work together in a program that we've created called Program to Profit. We help a lot of expert entrepreneurs and leaders, industry leaders, actually take the information, the knowledge, the skills, the expertise out of their head and actually put it into a workable, profitable online program that they actually thoroughly enjoy working with, working in, and it becomes part of their life. And their students and all of the people that they take through their programs also absolutely love it. So that's really our mission. That's what we've been about over the past, few months when we've been creating this program, and taking our students through this process is just an absolute joy. But one of the things that Cassie, in my opinion, is really, really good at is understanding that human connection. So she writes really good copy, but it comes from a place of, I really need to get into the shoes and start to understand what are the pains, the frustrations, the challenges that the person that my intention is to try and help, what are they actually going through right now? And when you can transport yourself into thinking, feeling the way that your dream customer does, the people that you actually want to work with, it actually makes this process so much simpler. So she's become a master at that. She's very, very, very good at transporting herself into that place and really feeling those fears, those frustrations and challenges of the avatar, which means that she's able to translate those back into words. So you'll see today when we talk through the method, it feels for you guys, you're probably, when you're starting out, it feels really messy. And as Cassie said, we've got a bit of a play on words here, which you're going to see very, very shortly. And we're going to give you a simple structure that you're going to be able to follow, because like I said right at the beginning, when you have a structure, you have a process, it does make things a lot simpler. Everything we do in life, if we can start putting a framework, a system and a process around it that's replicatable, that you can, do it once, and then you've learned it once, you can do it again and again and again. It is one of those skills, particularly writing copy, is one of those skills that will just hold you in good stead for, particularly if you're in the online space. You need it for, in every part of your business, there's some form of words that you need to be able to create to capture the audience, the hearts and the minds of the ideal customer that you want. So let's kind of get stuck into because what I want you guys to do today is I'm going to give you, Cassie and I are going to give you a framework, but we're also going to give you something that's tangible that you can actually take away, that after the show you can come back, you can refer back to the show, but you can also use the document and the workbook that we give you to help you to understand this method and understand how to write sales copy in a really simple way. So after the show, or if you hang around to the end, I'm going to give you the link to go to, and then within about half an hour of the show completion, that will be ready and you'll be able to go and download it. So hang about for today. Also, this is live right now, so you have a brilliant opportunity to be asking questions of both Cassie and I, anything to do with copy. Now's the time to ask it. So in Facebook, or also on YouTube, you will see that there is somewhere that says allow StreamYard to see your comments. Please make sure that you do that, because as you're commenting, we will be able to then see your comments come through to us. If you don't allow that, you'll be typing away on Facebook and we will have no idea that you are even there or that you have even commented to us. So please make sure that you do that. It's really, really important. Okay, so let's get stuck into this. What I want to say is that usually most people kind of think, starting and writing your sales copy, you should start at the top. And I actually want to firstly start with, why should you even bother taking on board this process that we are even talking about today? And I've mentioned a little, Cassie and I both mentioned a little bit about this at the beginning. It is, this process is actually going to help you to get into the heart and the mind of your buyer. And it's also going to give you the opportunity to kind of twist and tweak any area of your offer that requires some form of attention. So normally the process would be that you would come up with the offer or whatever the product and or services that you are going to be delivering to your client. You come up with that first, and then this follows. So once you've created all of that, we have this process of answering 8 key questions, and when you answer those, again, those will help you in this process. So we're kind of going to go straight to the guts of this, which is the sales copy piece. And like I said, it also serves as one of those moments that allows you to kind of like stop for a minute, breathe it in, really get into the shoes of your customer and really think about, is my offer actually going to solve the problems, the challenges, the frustrations, and meet the wants and needs of the ideal customer that I'm trying to serve? So that's the first thing that this process is going to do, and that's why it's absolutely important, and probably one of the most important pieces of the entire puzzle when you are trying to create anything to sell, whether it be online or offline for that matter, if you're trying to write, a brochure or a sales page. And it's also going to help you to sell your products and services even when you are fast asleep. So even while Cassie and I are on here, our sales pages and the copy that are on those pages are really helping to give our audiences a sense of what the heck it is that they're going to get, what they can expect to us, and why they should be buying and why they should be joining our programs. So we want to set up a system and a process that actually enables that to happen, even if you cannot be present to make a sales, to have a sales conversation or to have a sales call, so to speak. So those are the reasons why you should bother. Okay, so where do we actually start? And what I want to say is that in most cases, you kind of start with a big fat mess, right, Cass? It's like,
Yes.
oh my God, what the heck's in my head? It's like so messy. So let's talk through kind of some of the things that, the frustrations and the challenges that people have at the beginning and the mess that we have. And then we're going to help you guys make sense of that mess.
Yeah. So this is, while it's everyone's on the larger scale, like a very intimidating place to start, it's actually my favorite because I've really learned that, anything in life and business or anything that we are creating, regardless of what our vision is of the end result, it starts like raw, messy, like, you think about the molded clay or the Michelangelo, like it was just a big hunk of rock, right? And if anyone throughout history or anything that you've done in your life, if you look at the starting point, it's typically intimidating as heck until you start to move. So for me, the most beautiful part of any process is just that beginning momentum, because there's so many leaps of faith that is literally like, I don't know what this finished result is going to be, but here we go.
Absolutely, and that's a really great analogy there with that, the sculpting of the Michelangelo, sculpture. It started with a big mess, and it actually required him to chip away and chip away and chip away until he actually uncovered the beauty within. And we know that the beauty was always there. It just required a bit of like the chipping away and the molding and shaping of. So we want you to really hold on tight to that, because even though right at the beginning you might be like, it is a big mess and I don't know where the heck to start, you're going to chip away until you get to the point where, oh my God, this is just some beautiful piece of copy, almost poetry. So we're going to show you guys how to do that. Okay, so where the heck do we start with all of this? Now, most people would think that when you're writing sales copy on a sales page, the most logical place to start is at the start, at the beginning, but it's actually not. That's actually one of the biggest mistakes that most people make, is that they feel compelled that they've got to start at the top of the page and work their way down. The reason I say that's a big mistake is because it's actually the hardest place to start, and it is the most important. So we do not touch that piece first. The place that we actually start on in writing our sales copy is right smack bang in the middle, and that's actually what the M in, we call it the MESS method, right? MESS. So I'm going to pop that in here and tell you it's a MESS method, right? So MESS, MESS. Here we go. Let me just pop that up on here. It's the MESS method. So we always start writing our sales copy in the middle. Why do we do that, or why do we recommend that you do that? The reason is that by the time you've crafted out your offer, it's usually the easiest place to start. Why? Because it's the introduction. It's usually the first part of the process where you are introducing what it is that you've just created. So for example, Cassie and I have just finished reviewing and writing the sales copy for a page called Programmed to Profit. So we start right smack bang in the middle. We're actually introducing the product, the service, the program that we have just created. And we're talking about things like, what is it? What does it actually do? So what the heck is this program? So some might call that a tagline. And then who is it for? So suitable for might be some of the words that you see on a sales page that are encapsulated in the announcement section of the page. The next thing that we move to is benefits. So we then talk about benefits and features, and these are kind of interchangeable. You can do these at you can do features first or benefits first. It really doesn't matter. But again, this is the easiest part of the process to create, because when you've crafted out your offer, you already know, like, what are some of the benefits of somebody working with me, in XYZ program? What are some of the features that you can find inside of the program? So I don't know if, Cass, if you want to talk a little bit more about features and benefits, and maybe even some of the structure that we would use to create the features and benefits when we're writing on a sales page.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So if that beginning momentum and then just taking that leap of faith is like one of my favorite first steps, the next thing to talk about is overcoming objections. And really, that's where the features and benefits are rooted, right? Because we can't even get into the features and benefits or the desired results until we understand what the absolute pain points are and the objections that are in the mind of our dream clients, right? And this has been so fun in creating the Program to Profit program is to see how this one consistent element appears in every single phase of building the program, right? Because it's consistent. And I love it because it keeps us honest. It keeps us honest to why we're creating the solution in the first place, because it keeps us grounded to those human emotions of like, what is the desired results? What are they struggling with? What are they meeting and banging their heads against the walls with? Because that reveals, right? I call it the hidden treasures. That reveals the features and the benefits of the solution that you provide. Because it's sort of like, in grade school when you had the match, right? Where they showed you a picture and the word and you're matching, right? We're taking all of these pain points and we're matching them with the desired results, that the features and benefits of the program that we're creating, right? So we have a roadmap. And that's what this section really does. And I love it because it's formulaic, but it also keeps us really zoned in on that human, right? That particular human has a particular problem with particular struggles, like that meets that, and you're calling them out, right? And that's the beauty of it. Where people get stuck here is they spend too much time on like the surface level features and benefits and not specifically creating that section to meet that internal conversation that's going on in someone's head, like why they would stop, what would be a roadblock in the course, why they haven't succeeded before. All of these reasons why a course or a program or X, Y, and Z isn't going to work for them, right? You're interrupting those thoughts and you're already meeting them at every single level. By the time they get to the bottom of that sales page, it's almost like, well, I really don't have anything else to say. They handled it all.
Yeah, so, oh my God, how they know me so well. So I love that, like that this part, like I said, is the easiest part to write for these reasons, because once you've gone through this process, and I want to say to you guys, I will find the episode where I talked about the big 8. There is an episode in the Unlock show where I talk about the 8 questions that you must answer for yourself before you create any business. And what I would recommend you guys do is you go and you do that, like you watch that show before coming back and watching this show, because once you've got these 2 things working hand in hand, it definitely will help you. So typically on a sales page, when we get into that features and benefits part, and like Cassie's talked about, really agitating or understanding and diving deep into the challenges, the pains, and the frustrations, and getting to know your customer avatar, then when you're able to do that, you're typically going to see these kind of words or this sort of framing on a page under features and benefits. So it might typically say something like, the results you are going to get by this within this section or with this program are, or by the time you have finished this, you will. By the time you have completed this module, you will come away with. So those are some of the starting points of a sentence that you might use to give you that jumping point to start thinking about, if I was to finish this sentence with a benefit statement, what might that sound like? And then of course the features is more about, so the benefits are like addressing those pain points that they have. You had a problem with say overwhelm. By the time you have finished this section of this module, we are going to obliterate any overwhelm that you had. You are going to be crystal clear and have absolute clarity about the path and the direction and the steps that you need to take to do X, Y, Z. That would be the problem. And then we've finished that with a benefit. And then the features piece is just literally what's inside. Is it a workshop? Is it a workbook? Is it what the heck is it that I'm going to be going through? So they're very literal things when we're talking about the feature side of things. So once we've covered like that middle section, there's generally 3 components of that. The first is the announcement, which we covered, which is what it is, what does it do, and who is it for. Then we go into benefits, which is the results, what they're going to come away with, and linking them back to the challenges, the pains and frustrations they have. And then the features, what's actually inside this thing that you've just created. Those are the 3 sections that you are going to find in the middle section of your sales page, and it completes the M for the MESS method. Okay, where do we go next? And if you guys have twigged on now, if we're following the MESS method, the next place that we would go to, all right, because we always have a beginning, a middle, and an end on a page, is we actually go to the ending. So we're going to go right to the end. So we start in the middle, and then we go to the end of the page, and we start writing that next. Now, why do we do that? Again, because there's a structure to this, there's a flow to this, and it naturally flows from the middle of the page. It will enable you to write the second part, the ending part of your page, really, really easily. There are 4 sections in the ending of your sales page. What are included in these particular sections? There's a guarantee, risk reversal. And I'm going to let Cassie talk a little bit about the importance of adding a guarantee or some form of risk reversal, what a risk reversal is, and why it's so important that you actually include that on any of your sales pages.
Yeah, so here, this is where it comes down to, like, what is the easy yes? Where can we lower the decision-making barriers and help translate trust into minimizing the risk and making a decision, right? So when it comes to a guarantee or that risk reversal, I am 100% always of the mind, like, if something doesn't deliver what I intend to deliver or cause the outcome or transformation, I am happy to refund, because it is just my internal operating system, right? And when you have an internal operating system like that you publicly share, right, it aligns with other people's values, right? It automatically helps them psychologically attach and deduce, right? Like, limit the red flags of risk, right? So if you put your heart out there, right? So like me, and Tracy will probably touch on tone at some point in this, like, I have a tone of a very heart-centered, impactful, and so that is, my promise to you is you're going to love it or you're going to have your money back. Like, that could be something super simple for me. So I've seen them so fun and quirky, right? Like, love it, and you'll get a refund, and I'll buy you a coffee, right? Like, it's just like, put your personality in there. If you love pies, send them a pie to their house. Like, it's just putting another layer of that human element in there. Like, hey, I got you, right? Like, I remember what it was like, just whatever we can do to increase the confidence. Like, when we're confident in our product and the results that it can create, it's 100% translated in some sort of guarantee or risk reversal, right? Like, I'm so confident in the results that I'm going to create that I'm going to make sure you're satisfied, or, I'm at least going to make sure you're happy with the refund, right? And it's not to say that your wording or your practice has to align with mine. But when it comes to creating offers and everyone else out there on the internet, there are natural like skeptics, right? And we, okay, I'm going to deviate a little bit, Trace, because I haven't met one online marketer or digital type of entrepreneur who has not been burned before. Some way, shape, or form, by an offer, by a program, by a coach, or by anything like that, right? And so imagine these are some of those barriers, right? When we talked about objections, right, with the risk and the features and the results that we're going to create, this is another barrier that we're going to have to overcome. Now, we may not be able to, 100% bet that person on the other side of the screen has been burnt before, but my experience within the marketplace is it's a pretty darn good chance. So how can I help minimize their evaluation of risk and that one thing that's going to come up and say, yeah, but I've tried this before? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I would rather have the cards stacked in my favor at that point.
And then, as we've deviated, and we are already talking about this particular kind of point, is that there are so many programs out there, and people have been burnt, and we've got to understand that they've probably tried to solve the problem. You're probably not the first time they've tried to find a solution, solve the problem for themselves, at this point. And I think the statistics say something like, it definitely is in the fitness industry, I know this for sure. It says something like women try to be on about 8 diets a year. So that they're trying constantly to, if you're in the weight loss market and you're doing an online program, good statistic to know, is like they try 8 times. So by the time they get to you, you are not the first, you're not the first rodeo for them. They've tried many a thing, and most of the time it hasn't worked. Hence the reason that they're now on your virtual doorstep trying to find a solution. So really important, that particular piece, reversing that risk is really important, because they need to feel like they are, you like Cassie said, you've got them, they're feeling well supported. It's okay, if it doesn't, if this is not right for you, it's totally all right, and you move through that with the tone that you create online. It moves through your program with the tone that you create inside of that. The next thing that you put on your, like in the ending part of your sales page, is scarcity and urgency. And this is one of those things that I've seen a lot of people use really poorly, or I want to say not truthfully. They'll create false scarcity that isn't true. And in my opinion, I think you should always be truthful with, in this section, create urgency that's real, create scarcity that's real. So this is really about the, why now? Why should somebody take action now? The sorts of things that you could expect in this particular area are things like limited time and limited pricing. But, you don't want to have a limited time on and then leave it up. You want to, if it's going to be for a limited time, make it for a limited time and take the offer off the table the way that you said you would. So really important that we are truthful in that particular section. That's my opinion. But that's the second piece of the puzzle in the ending section, because there's 4 parts to it. The next piece of this puzzle, in the ending, is frequently asked questions. Now, why do we have frequently asked questions on our page? Well, it's the logical close. It's like all of those additional questions. So if they've got to, 3/4 of the way down the page or almost to the end of the page, and they're like, I've still got some questions, that is the prime opportunity for you to ask the question and answer the question at the same time. So like Cassie said, by the time they get to the bottom, it's like, it's a no-brainer. there are no questions left in my mind that this is the absolute right thing for me to move forward with. I get it. I understand it. They've covered everything. They know me. They are understanding where I'm at. I'm moving forward now because I've not only emotionally engaged with this and I'm on board with it, but I've gone through the logical piece too, because most people buy, with impulse and emotion, and then they try and justify with their logic. And what we're doing here is that we're enabling them to do both. We're enabling them to get emotionally attached and emotionally involved in what it is that you're doing, and then you're also covering off the logical side for them. Do you want to add anything to that particular piece, Cass?
Yeah, I love the FAQs because it's there are different personality types, right? And when you include FAQs, like there are people who are very process driven, and it's not just logical, but like, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And there is a level of appreciation, right? Because when someone is like, I'm very emotional driven, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to see a FAQs section, and the story I'm telling myself is, oh, how considerate of them to even take the time to organize these in a way for people who need it, right? That's what's going through my mind, right? So on a human level, I'm connecting with consideration, right? Someone else who is more systems and process driven, they're going to see the organization and they're going to be like, these are my people, right? They get it, right? So it's that attention to detail, and it's the human level of that conversation that's still going. Because if you include, a handful, 8 to 10 FAQs, chances are you're hitting on average possibly a couple, 2 to 3 for everyone who lands on that page, and you're meeting them where they're at, where they're having that internal processing in that conversation. And it just is such an appreciated part of the section. So on a psychological level, just like the risk guarantee and the risk reversal, it's helping create and solidify that trust.
Absolutely. And again, that's where you can come back and you can condense and consolidate all of the questions that they may have, on their minds: pricing, timeframes, what ifs. All of those things can all be contained nicely within that frequently asked questions piece. And like Cassie's just mentioned, it will appeal to lots of different types of personalities for the reasons that she stated. The last piece that we cover in the ending section is the final statements. It's like the closing of the deal, the signing off. So it's almost like when you're writing a sales page, I almost think of it like writing a letter to somebody. And this is an important point too, is that, and a mistake that a lot of people make, is that they'll write their sales copy to try and speak to an entire audience. They're trying to write it to speak to a group of people. The mindset that you want to get yourself into is as if you were writing a letter to just one person. It's like that one person has become your best friend, and how would you write to them? And I think when you transport yourself into that mindset and you're writing it from that perspective, it enables you to add your personality, and it enables you to add a very conversational tone to the way in which you are writing a conversation. And it's like Cassie has alluded to this a number of times already throughout today's show, but it's like the internal dialogue, it's the conversation. So it's as if you are having Cassie and I are having a back and forth conversation, and I'm preempting what Cassie's actually thinking in her mind. And that's the power of really stepping into this process and being all consumed with the process, in the sense of stepping into your ideal client's shoes. It really does help you to do that and see things from a different perspective. So what else do you usually add in that closing the deal and the sign off section, Cass?
I think this is a really good opportunity to mix in your personality, right? Like, how would you end that conversation, right? Like, it's easy when we're speaking it, and you haven't mentioned this yet, but like a way that you love to teach this is actually recording yourself speaking, and what is your natural tone and dialogue, right?
Yeah.
So I think just getting into that mindset. Okay, how are we closing this? How are we closing this out? Like, there is sales strategy where you could totally assume the sale. Like, I can't wait to see you on the inside, or can't wait to serve you, or can't wait to hear about your vision. Okay, like whatever those last action phrases are, that's going to connect with and align with your personality, right? So you're going to think about a few of those things. But I love what you were alluding to, and talking about, like just really embodying who you're speaking to, like on it's like a meditative state, right? Like before you even sit down to write the copy, I always encourage everyone, because by the time we get here, they've got a pretty good understanding about who their dream client is, right? So picture someone who is your current dream client, like that you've worked with before, like, or just like physically create like an image of that person in your mind, right? How are they? Like, you're meeting them at the point of frustration, and understanding on that emotional level where they're at, why they're frustrated, what they really want, what keeps them up at night, what is really driving them to take action on solving this problem in their life. And that is the state that you write from, because you already know your perspective. You already know the ins and the outs and the why you created it, but you need to be connected with why you even created it in the first place, right? That's your internal driving force, right? So you've got to connect to those emotions that you were feeling. And nearly 99% of the time, those are the exact same emotions of who you're trying to connect with on the other side of where they're at, right? So you've got to allow yourself to go back there emotionally. Like many of my friends who are copywriters, they're like, when you write copy that makes you feel something, you've allowed yourself to go deep enough. And so that's the thing. If you're just writing surface level, like clever and catchy, and you're not chuckling to yourself, you haven't went deep enough, right? Or you're not a little teary-eyed. It doesn't have to always be negative or crying type emotions. It could be that, like, oh God, see what she did there, right? Like it could be just that is where you want to be, right? Like you're causing emotion, and in addition to that dialogue, like how are they in my head? How do they know all this? Because you know your dream client inside and out better than anyone else in the market.
And I love the fact that you're talking really a lot about emotions, because again, it is, Cassie's like spoken about that a lot for good reason, because we absolutely have to tap into that. It's almost like the secret source of all of this is that E word, is the emotion, because it's the emotion that connects them to the message, that creates motion and creates them to causes an effect, which is for them to take some form of action. So I love that you have touched on and spent some time talking about really connecting with that emotion and then allowing that to come through. And I'm glad that you also brought up that little method. I do this a lot in my teaching, is actually get people to pull out their phone and speak the words, like actually speak them out loud. And it doesn't matter if it's still a bit messy, it doesn't matter. The reason that you want to do that is because you then are able to listen to it back, and you can hear it back you're hearing it back in a very different way than when you spoke it. You can hear it, you're listening for those key words. Was it powerful enough? What were the key words that I used that actually made me go, that sounded interesting, I want to know more? What were those lean in moments that you actually spoke? So if you find it really difficult to write things down and you're like, what the heck, I don't know what to put in each of these sections, use this framework that Cassie and I are talking with you about today. Just use it, but speak out every section. Like literally go to the middle and start speaking through the announcement. What is it? What does it do? Who is it for? Speak it, record it on your phone, and then listen to it back. And that will help you to start with a starting point and a basis point to start jumping off and creating your copy from. So the next place we go to, so after we've created, right, we're halfway there now. This is the cool thing about this, and this is why we also start in the middle, guys, is because you get you get wins really quickly. Because when you can start in the middle and you can do, the announcement, the benefits, and the features, you already know a lot of that information. So you're going to get a really quick win, and a good chunk of your sales page is already created. We then go to the end. You're halfway there. It's like, yahoo, happy days. We're halfway there once we've completed the middle and the end. Massive wins along the way. That gives you the momentum to keep going. Whereas if you had done what most people do, which is the mistake, starting at the beginning and going, crap, I don't know what to write here. Now I'm stuck. I haven't got my rhythm, haven't got my flow. And you stop at that point and you then start taking on the, I'm not good at copywriting. I can't do this. That's when all of that happens. It's not because you're not good at it. It's just because you haven't started in the right place. All right. It's like jumping into a maze and you going down the wrong, channel. You're going to hit a dead end. So we're giving you the place to start so that you can actually get your way out of this entire mess, and it's going to make a lot of sense. You're going to make a lot of sense of this mess, and it's going to look beautiful by the time you finish. Okay, so once we've done the middle, we've done the end, we then do what we call is we create a bit of a splash, and it happens all over the page. There's a bunch of things. There's actually a number of things that we add in as our splashes throughout the page, and there are 4 of those. What are they? The first piece of big splash that we want to add on your page is powerful proof. Why do we add powerful proof? Well, it's about overcoming objections. So it might be results that you've got. It might be, what is the proof that this actually works? It could be screenshots of different things. Like you're adding them into your sales page at specific points. And in the document that I give you a little bit later after today's show, it will tell you the exact points that you need to put these splashes of information on your sales page. So it's overcoming objections. The next thing that you need to do is testimonials. Why do we want to have testimonials in there? Because it builds belief. It's like, oh my God, if I'm seeing that Cassie can do it, or I'm seeing that, somebody else just like me can do it, then surely I can do it too. Let's talk a little bit about, these testimonials. And one of the questions that we often get is, what if I don't have any? What if it's a new program? What if I don't have any testimonials for this? What do we do, Cass, in that situation? What are some of the tips we can give them to help them create real testimonials, not lies, not made up BS, real ones? How do we do that?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways to validate, right? You can do paid case studies. I normally teach whether it's 27, 47, 97, 197, like whatever. I started my whole agency, my business on a $350 case study offer. That is just get started. If you have an offer and you have a framework, you need to figure out a really short period of time to walk someone through it and get feedback and their experience and get them some sort of quick win or result. So if we're looking at a longer term program or something like that, that comes further along in the beta. But in order to even sell the beta, maybe you just do a couple consultations, right? So that's really what I want to share right now, because there's a lot of people who they have a starting point. They may not have confidence in pricing. They may not even know exactly where or how to price it. So here are my rules. If I'm going to do something for free, if I'm going to give something away, I'm giving it away to someone who I love, who I want to champion, who I want to walk beside, who I admire their mission and their vision. And I know they have the tenacity to execute. I am not just going to put it out there on my public profile and take a chance on whoever is going to say yes and raise their hand. I am going to make a list of 5 to 10 people who I personally know and I love, and I want to make an impact and an investment of my time and talent into their business, right? Mm-hmm. So when I did our framework, right, I poured it into some current clients that I had, to some friends who I wanted to see just explode in their business, and I wanted to champion their business. I created a win-win-win scenario, right? That I won from getting my proof of concept and framework. They won by getting a result. And whatever they created with the tools that I gave them, who they're serving, massively wins, right?
Yeah.
So those are my rules. If you're going to give it away for free, it's crazy intentional, and it's a short window of time. It could be a 1 hour phone call. It could be a 2-week coaching. It doesn't have to be long and drawn out, but it just makes you be very intentional, very focused on the result to get the validation of what your framework does, hit the ground and run with it. So you can get it in the hands of more people and continue to repeat the process at scale.
Absolutely. And, the other thing I think you can add in there, if you're unable to do some of the things that Cassie's just said, you could use like personal testimonials. So, it might be from some people that have, maybe you haven't validated this particular product and or service, but you've had other people work with you in other ways. You could certainly get people to give you a personal testimonial, and you could absolutely thread them throughout your sales page to begin with, so that you've got some form of testimonials on there. The next is calls to action. So you would typically see these on a page as like, buy now, or, are you ready to join? I'm ready to are you ready to buy, enroll now, that sort of thing. We're talking about buttons. All right. So it's whether it's a button, or it's just, some form of word that is linked on it, that has a link attached to it that they can press, that says, hey, I'm ready to go. And they would normally either at the beginning of the page, they're going to scroll them down to the section where it's got, the stack and the offer in it, and or it's going to take them directly to the order form page. So depending on where that call to action is threaded throughout your page will depend on where it takes you to. And again, I talk a little bit about that in the document, the workbook that I'm going to give you guys a little bit later after today's show. You can read it and you'll see exactly where I am indicating to you where to place those. The last thing that you would put, as far as like a splash is concerned on your page, and like I said, all of these are threaded throughout the page, is what we call the stack. And so maybe I'll get Cassie to give you guys a bit of an overview of what's a stack, kind of what's in it, and typically what we would see in a stack.
Okay, so for me, stacks are an opportunity to simplify and anchor the value of what you have put together in your program. The biggest mistake that I see a lot of people make is they take their program and they shove everything inside the container of the program, and then they just price the program. And so 9 times out of 10, chances are you don't have to create more things to put into your stack. And that's where people get confused, because within our world, Tracy, everybody's super familiar, or in the digital marketing world, I'll say that, because there could be some authors or professionals watching that may, stack may be a new word for them, but it's essentially, it's a method of stacking the value to offset the decision, right? When they see all of this value, it makes it an easy decision for investment. And where a lot of people get messed up here is they create this beautiful program, and then they get to the stack and they're like, oh, well, I have this program, and then I need to add this and this and this and this and this and this. And to me, it's not so much about loading it and added more unnecessary things. Go back to your program and just pull out and stack the value of what you've already included in the program as a whole. Because the thing about it is, when you're creating a program for someone, and you say it includes templates, it includes email sequences, it includes funnel design, it includes marketing swipe files, right? They're just putting that into the value of the program. But when you start making those line items and assigning the value to each one of, like, here we have taken something and we've logically put it in an order where their brain is breaking up the value and they're seeing all of that is in there. It's just a visual representation of not overwhelming the processing that the brain is going through, right? Because they start assigning the value to the things that they see in there instead of lumping it all together. And it's almost like, that's all I get, right? So it's just a way to present information in a way that's chunked down to see the value at every level and why it's incredible packaged together in a program.
Mm-hmm. And I want to say, I mean, we'll laugh about this because I've seen it a number of times, but I want to say the Ginsu knives. I don't know if you guys had them in America, but like on, daytime
Yes.
TV where they do the shopping shows, and like they do this really well. Like one of the places you can actually go and watch, you might pay you to watch them, and you might, empty your wallet with a few things that you see on there, but like just watch the way that they actually stack the value of the products that they are presenting to you throughout those shows. They might say, hey, and today you've got to not just get one, but you're going to get two of. So we don't go that I'm going to say crazy quirky, but it's the same kind of concept. They are stacking the value so that logically in your mind, you are going, they are getting you to logically decide that this is worth it. There's a lot of value in here. I'm getting all of that stuff. That makes total sense to me, and I want it. And typically in the stack, particularly in the bonuses section, we're seeing those are the things that will overcome a lot of the objections that they would have had about joining your course, your program, whatever the case may be, or buying your product. You've overcome all of those by putting something else in the bonus section and super bonus sections that are going to actually help them get a result. We're thinking about what are the things that would prevent my new people from actually getting a result with my program. If it's like, I'm not good with tech, what can you add in that would enable them to overcome that hurdle of tech? Because one of the things that we are really focused on in our businesses is that we measure progress and completion rates of our students. That is something that is high on our agenda. We do not want just people to join and be just, for us to be clipping the ticket and saying, yep, we got a new person joining. To me, that is of no use whatsoever to us or to them if they join and they actually don't complete the program. They're not engaging and they're not completing. We have not done our job properly. So really important from my perspective that we actually measure completion rates for our customers. So anyway, the stack enables you to add in those additional things that will actually help your new people get a result from what it is that you are offering them. The stack you will typically see at least 3 times on a page. And again, in the document that we give you, tells you where to put them. Sorry, Cass, you're going to say something else.
Yes. So I want to add here too, because this is where our string of those false beliefs and overcoming objections, like it fits into the stack, right? Like there should not be anything placed in your stack that does not meet or overcome a false belief or an objection. Because if it's there just to be there and there's no benefit or intention of it being there, take it out. Because it's more valuable if you take it out and you leave it out and you don't waste their time, energy, or focus on it than if you just start throwing things in there. That's all I wanted to add, that they're very intentional.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that you added that, because it reminds me of a conversation I had with somebody some time ago, and I actually asked her the question. She was building a site for a client of hers, and I said, "What sort of have you created the offer and the stack?" And she's like, "Yeah, we've just we've got a whole lot of products," and all she was thinking about doing was actually grabbing that product and 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 bundling them all together. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about a bundle of products. We're talking about a very intentional stacking of value and tools, resources, and teachings that actually have a firm connection to the result that you are trying to get them. Very big difference, and I wanted to just make that distinction there. Okay, so that's the splash section. All right, so it's got 4 components of it, and now we are on the absolute home stretch of this now, and we're going to cover this piece really quickly. Even though it's the hardest, like I said, you can get more help either from Cassie and I. You can absolutely join one of our programs if you want to. Program to Profit is open for enrollments, and you're welcome to join us. And we go deep into all of this inside of that program, and we create you an absolute pathway so that you can build an online program that is not only going to be successful but hugely profitable. We want to make sure that happens for you. So in the beginning, so at the start, what do we cover? At the start, there are four. Let's just go here. There are actually 5 elements to the start. Let me just pop up my little banner here, the start. Okay, so that starts with a really strong headline, which is the hook. And I'll let Cassie talk a little bit about the hook and why that one thing right at the top of the page is almost the most important sentence that you will write on this entire sales page.
Yeah, so we're going back to the human that we're connecting with, right? Humans are curious creatures, and we're super busy, right? They're busy just like you're busy. If you're watching this and you're running a business, or you're watching this and you have a family and you're filling your time, with information or a podcast or continued development, so is the person who's reading your page, right? And in today's environment, we have less and less opportunity to capture attention. So what the headline does in the industry, it's above the fold, right? So it's a term from the newspaper, right? Where all of the information and the headlines were there. Like, and think about that, right? Like, go back to, when you were younger and you see the magazines in the store, you see the newspaper, like, what's pulling you in? The headlines, right? Sales pages are exactly the same, right? They clicked on there for a reason, right? So they were compelled to action for a reason, whether it was an ad, whether it was a personal referral, whether they came across it in your profile, but they made the decision to click there. And now we literally only have about 3 seconds to keep them there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's, not only are we competing with just the small attention span, but we are competing with life, right? Like, does a kid need them? Do they have emails coming in? Do they have a phone call coming in? So the quicker that we can capture that attention and compel them to read the next sentence, that's all the job of a headline is.
Mm-hmm.
Draw them in, create that connection where it's like, well, where's this going? Or you want that spark of a conversation to start, right? And that's why it's a hook and a headline and described like that, because it's essentially like capturing the attention for long enough to create that connection and understanding that they want to read the next sentence.
Mm-hmm. Draw them in and drag them down is basically, I mean, it's really not a very nice terminology, is it? I mean, in the sense of, let's draw them down the page, drag them down the page. All right, so so we start with that strong headline, the hook. Grab them and grab their attention, because you've got a very short space of time to do that. The next thing that we have in that particular section is the problem. So you got to state their problem. Like, this is a part where you're like, well, I know that you've got really deep, you understand their pain points. Like, state the big problem that they are facing right now, and just, I want to say here, make sure it's real. Make sure that that problem is not just something you've made up, that you've done some research and it is a real problem that your ideal customer is facing. Because if you get this piece wrong, then you might have dragged them down one portion of the page, but if you're stating a problem that doesn't actually exist, that's it. They're going to be off that page and moved on to something else. The next part, I'm going to go pretty quick through this part, guys, because we're heading to the top of the hour, and I'm going to give you the document anyway that's going to help you guys move through this if you need to. The next is a solution. So what's so unique about yours? And then the meaning. Why does this even matter? Why should I even care about what it is that you are talking about today? Why does it matter? Really important that we cover that. And then the next part of that process, the 5 elements, is then the rapport piece. So trust, and it's like, who are you and why the heck should I even listen to you, and how can you help me? So those are the 5 components or 5 elements that you would put in the starting or the top of your sales page. Strong headline to hook them in. Problem, so stating the problem, and you meant to make sure that it's real. the solution, what's unique about yours, the meaning, why does it even matter and why should they care, and then the rapport. And like I said, this particular part is often the hardest part to write. That's why we do it last. And it might require you to really, to write it, sit with it for a little bit, show it to a couple of people, get some feedback on it, and rewrite. It might require a few rewrites. So do not be afraid of that. I know Cassie's got a few things to say about that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. I would almost say expect a few rewrites, right? Like this is one of those things where you might construct a sentence that is like, "Ooh, I don't know if it gets any better than that." Still give yourself, because this is the beautiful thing that unlocks in our minds on a subconscious level. Like when we get the first draft of copy out of us, our brains continue to work in the background, right? So I have always, I've developed a practice to write and let it sit. And I call it marinade. I just need to marinate on it, and then I'll come back to it the next day. So I automatically know I need a few days just for the first draft and revision process. So I'm already setting myself up to win, and knowing that I am not forcing myself into an hour block where I have to create something spectacular, right? So I'm so glad that you said that, Tracy. And the only other thing that I want to really, really, really lean in on here is when you mentioned why should they care? Why is it even important? And this is another section that a lot of people just skip over because they don't think that other people care why they even created it. But the thing about it is, and I'm going to quote Theodore Roosevelt, is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Period. So do not discount that ever, because that's a lot of the times it's the missing element where people are like, well, they're just, what is it about you? Like it's what you said, what makes you different, what makes you unique, right? And there's just something where someone knows where you've been, where they're at, and you've put in the work, and you've went through the punches and the struggles and the overcoming, and there's just a camaraderie there where it's that safe space and that internal conversation where they get me. And that's
absolutely. So guys, I want to wrap up today and tell you now where you can go and get the workbook that Cassie and I have created and are providing to you guys today. It goes along with what we've spoken about in today's conversation. It is called the MESS Method, and in fact, it's making sense of the mess. So we're going to help you do that. Go and download the document. It'll be ready in about half an hour from now. So give us a little bit of time. We'll just upload that and then it's ready to go. But if you head on over, I'm just going to pop it on the bottom of the screen right now. Let me show you this. So if you head on over to www.tracymwilson, and I'm Tracy with no E, so TRACYMWILSON.com/MESS, you will be able to download the document called Making Sense of Mess, and you'll be able to follow along. If you are writing any sales page copy right now, I would just have that handy so that you can refer to it. And if you are thinking about creating your own program, what should they do, Cass? Like, what's the best thing that they could possibly do right now if they wanted to? I said they get in touch with us, but anyway, what do you reckon?
I totally say, reach out to Tracy. Obviously, we're here on the show. Feel free to DM me and ask me any questions whatsoever. I have a complete unwritten rule that I am transparent and honest in every conversation and situation. And that's what I love about what we've created with Tracy. And if we are not the best resource for you, we are going to make sure that you have a list to put in front of you so that you can connect with who is, right? And I think we would be remiss if we didn't take some time and share what the inspiration was even for this show and for this message, because we're coming up on the end of completion. We're just a few weeks out of completion of the first complete round of Program to Profit, right? So I'm incredibly proud of what we've created. I am blown away with what the members are creating and what they're about to unleash into the world. But it was one of those things that when we taught the copy and the MESS method and the play on words, like I just, there was such a collective sigh of relief where it was like, it doesn't have to be this intimidating. It doesn't have to be as hard as I've built it up to. And realizing that when you paint the picture and you help people understand like the space and time that the copy is going to take, you realize how much out there is unsaid or unknown. And so when you were talking about the show today, like this was such a perfect fit, because here we were, you know, in like the third week of really dialing in the sales copy. Vicki got to spend time in the program, like going over all of their work. And I mean, we didn't even get to go into that, like what a blessing it is to have Vicki, right, look over everything and like give her stamp of approval on all of the works and suggestions for the tweaks and the massaging. But for them to see Vicki's process and her polishing, right? The more that you realize what the finished product is that you see takes time, and it started messy, right? The less intimidating it is, and you learn to realize this is just part of your growth. And that was an important message for us to get out and share. And I'm grateful that we had this opportunity to share it.
Thank you. Well, it's been, you know, literally, Cassie and I have just finished writing some sales copy just before we jumped on today's show. So it was like really timely. We were just in that moment doing all the things using the MESS method. We start with a MESS too. It's like any puzzle that you are trying to, you know, you're trying to create this beautiful picture with a whole lot of messy pieces to begin with. It's okay. You tip them out just like you would a jigsaw puzzle. Tip them out on the floor, move them all about. Start with the, you know, you start in this case in the middle, but you'd start with the corners and you start building out the edges and you work your way in with a puzzle. This is no different. We start in the middle, we go to the end, we do a bit of a splash, and then we go to the beginning. Before we know it, voila, we've created a beautiful, well-written, well thought out, and well-connected sales page. So anyway, guys, I want to say thank you very much for joining us today. It was it was a full-on session, but we have like just unleashed and unlocked with you guys our exact method. This is how we write copy for stuff. We've left nothing out. There is a document that you're going to be able to get, but like we said, we have a brand new program that we've just taken a whole bunch of students through that are getting amazing results, and we'd love to welcome you into our program if it's the right fit for you. The best way to connect with me is just to connect with me through Messenger and say, hey Trace, I want to know more about it, or connect with Cassie, I want to know more. Let's start there. You don't even need to go and look at a sales page or anything just yet. Let's just have a chat. If it works out that we're the good fit for you, we'll let you see all the bits and pieces that we've got, what's included in our program, and if it's not, like Cassie said, we're pretty well connected in the industry. We know loads of people. We will find somebody who is better connected, who is better suited to you. But I'm sure that between myself, Cassie, and Vicki Helm, we've got a lot of bases covered here. So anyway, thanks so much for being such an awesome guest again inside of on the Unlock Show, Cass. You're an awesome coach inside of Program to Profit. I absolutely love working with you. It's always a pleasure. And I want to say, this is not the last time you guys are going to see Cassie Brown on the Unlock Show. She will be around and be back again at some point, because no doubt I'll say, hey, Cass, we need to talk about this because this is a cool topic. So let's go. So thanks for being here.
Can I kind of open loop a little bit? You're going to be, for those of you watching, and you're going to be hearing Vicki share some things coming up, and that's what's going to be really, really exciting. So that's all I'm going to say right there. And just pay attention to what's going on over the next few weeks, because the next project that Vicki is leading up is I am beyond words excited about it.
Very exciting. So where is it that we can go, or you guys can go to find out more about all of that stuff? We actually have a private Facebook group. It's called Success Secrets for Business, Family and Life. Go look it up. If you're not already a group member, come and be a groupie with us, and you'll actually get to hear a lot of shows. We talk a lot about success secrets for business, your family and your life. And like Cassie's just said, she's given you guys a bit of a heads up that Vicky Helm, who has the Coffee Break show, which is every Wednesday inside of that group, is going to be sharing something pretty amazing very, very shortly. So I want you guys to keep your eyes peeled for that and listen out, because when you understand the process that we've created, you'll know that we've also spoken about Influence and Authority program. We've got Program to Profit, and then the new thing that Vicky is bringing out very, very shortly, it like rounds out this very beautiful process and creates a nice pathway for you guys to be able to create success in your business and with your online program. So that being said, thank you very much for joining today. Thank you for those of you that are here. I'll be back again on Friday and then again Wednesday, 10 a.m. Australian or Brisbane, Australia time, for another episode of Unlocked. So for now, I want to say, go out there, live your life unlocked. And right now is a fantastic time for you to be unlocking the knowledge, the skills, and the experience that you have to be able to create your life that you will love living into the future. So let's make sure that you go out there and you start creating that. So I want to say thanks very much and bye for now. See you guys on Friday.
Bye.
Bye.